Hi, everyone. Angel Hicks, of course, of All Women's Network. And today we are in Literary Circle, and we are going to be talking about the 5 choices, the path to extraordinary productivity. And I don't know about you, but I am always up for more productivity tips and tricks and ways that I can be more effective and efficient. So hopefully we're going to get some nice tips and tricks to use here. So this book, it really teaches us how to reach your highest potential in the workplace. And when we say workplace, of course, we mean our offices, we mean, with our team members, whatever workplace is for you, but really to achieve the top level of productivity. So this was written really by Kory Kogon, I think is how you pronounce his name, but it was a compilation with a couple other authors. So the 3 things that we're going to talk about today is number 1, organizing your time into 4 quadrants. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but it describes each category of kind of the time that you spend, like emergency, important, not important, and like time waster, and kind of important but a time waster kind of thing. So productivity begins with defining your role title and your role statement in your company and your business, and we'll get to that. And then you need to be healthy, connected, and engaged in meaningful work to make any system work. So no matter what system you choose, whether it's paper, electronic, whatever it is for your productivity, you have to be engaged in meaningful work to make it work. And that's just a general statement anyway. So we're going to get into it. All right, number 1. To become more productive, you have to start itemizing your time. And we talk about doing time audits, right? Have you guys ever heard of time audits, where you take your day and you literally write down every minute that you're spending doing an activity. So if you take a break to do the laundry, if you're on Facebook, if you're, doing QuickBooks or accounting or whatever it is, social media, you take that and you do an audit of your day, and you do that for 5 days, 7 days, whatever your work week is. And then you go back and you look at how much time am I spending doing each thing, and where do they fit in this quadrant? So quadrant 1, it includes your important and urgent work, like this is an emergency, I have to get that done today, right? Which include, so Q2 is going to include important but non-urgent tasks. So like this literary circle, I have to prepare for literary circle, right? It's not an emergency because I'm not in literary circle like yesterday when I did it, but it's something that is important that needs to be done, right? But it's just not an emergency. Q3, quadrant 3, it includes urgent but not important. So like it's urgent to check your emails, you need to get to that, but it's not, the world's not going to end if you don't, right? And then the 4th one is the one I probably spend way too much time in, if we're being honest, and that includes time spent on meaningless things, right? So you go into social media, we've all done it. You go into social media and you check this one thing, right, in your group or something, and the next thing you know, you've been on Reels for 10 minutes watching somebody's dog like chase a cat, right? So he talks about the quadrant 2 is where you want the bulk of your day to live. So in completing important tasks, but not emergency putting out fire tasks. Okay, so this is what the quadrant looks like. So this is the time management matrix. And he talks about doing a self-analysis to think about where you spend the most of your time. So it should imply a lot of the quadrant 2, which is the preparation, planning, clarification, that kind of stuff. And then if you feel, every time you feel like doing something, ask yourself, like, where does that task going to fit? And is that in quadrant 2? Is it in, what quadrant does that fit in? And how much time should I be spending on that particular task? And so you'll know once you put it in whatever quadrant you believe it falls into, you'll know how much time you should be spending on that task. So that's the first step. Do an audit of how much time you spend and put each one of those tasks in the quadrant. Number 2, define your role title. So a lot of us are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, right? So our role title is like literally everything, right? You're like the housekeeper, the maid, the bookkeeper, you're all the things, right? You're the grower, you're the salesperson, you're the back office operations manager, like you're all of it. But he talks about defining your role is the main category of work that you do. And your role statement defines where you want to be. So, an example, your role title could be a professional wedding planner. So, I'm a professional wedding planner. While your role statement may be, I want to become the best wedding planner in town. Or women, let's say brides, right? So, I am the best wedding planner. Brides flock to me in town, or whatever, if you want to get more specific. So the set of statements can help you start organizing your goals and align with your schedule. Now that you've defined them, you start to put goals and objectives towards that role statement. So as we're talking, think about, because it's going to be a breakout, think about kind of what your role statement would be. So if you're Polly, right, and she does send out cards, I am a distributor would send out cards. If you could nail that down or narrow that down and be more specific, what would your role title be? So that's number 2. Number 3 is to reap all the benefits from a time management system, you have to nurture your body and energy levels. So again, no matter if it is on paper, if it is on electronics, especially now, like we are in gray sky season, right? So for the next 3 months, it's going to be hit or miss whether we going to get some of that vitamin D or not. So, and we're busy and we're stressful and all this stuff is happening. So setting yourself up for success, no matter what productivity piece you choose, right? You have to have the energy levels to sustain it. So number 1, he talks about nourishing 3 sources of energy. Okay, 1 is powerful purpose, the motivation or satisfaction you get from your work. What is the key thing? So for me, it's speaking, right? So for me, I love speaking at Evolve meetings. I love speaking at the chambers, and that builds my energy, okay, which is totally weird for me. But so I need to do more of those things to keep my, right? So to make sure that my energy level is up and that I'm not dragged back into just back office stuff. Number 2, physical body. Now, if you're like me, okay, I do step aerobics because that's my thing. But I also do dance breaks, right? So moving your body and making sure your overall health levels are up, your energy is up. And 3, connections. Your network and your social life, your relationships. Are you taking time to build your energy and keep your energy by just having lunch with someone? It doesn't have to be a specific one-to-one or going to dinner or whatever that is. So he says without these 3 sources of energy, it's impossible for you to become more productive. And I'm positive that you guys can think about a time where your energy was drained. You were mentally and physically just drained. And it doesn't matter how many productivity hacks you've got. You could have the Pomodoro technique, you could have a timer, you could have all kinds. It doesn't matter, right? We have to make sure that we're taking care of our physical bodies and our energy to be able to use any productivity. So for this reason, he says, obviously, we want to make sure that we're engaging in purposeful work, enroll in a program, whatever it is that you need to do to make changes to make sure that your energy level stays high. Okay, so those are our 3 tips. This book basically helps us focus on what matters most by giving clear strategies, priorities, and systems. So there's a lot more in the book, apparently, and this might be one that I go get. But so the 3 main things that you're going to get out of this book is create positive change in your work life. It teaches you how to really manage time or manage yourself with the time we have and improve productivity and giving you clear strategies, priorities, and systems to do so. So here are our breakout questions. And for you watching this on the replay, I challenge you to get out your journal and start thinking about these 3 questions. And the first one is, if you reflected on the 4 quadrants, where do you think you spend the majority of your time? Okay, a couple of times a week scrolling Facebook is not the majority of your time, right? So don't beat yourself up for that. But where do you think the most of your time is spent in those 4 quadrants? Number 2, take a moment to think about your role statement. Does that role statement, is it specific enough on who you are growing to be? And number 3, what do you think you could do to improve your productivity? And productivity is different than busy. Right? Being productive is different than busy. So what do you think you could do? And did any of these tips strike a nerve with you? So thank you so much for watching and being here. And I will see you next week.